Hey everyone, thank you all for joining in on another video. Today we're going to be talking about the 2022 United States Senate elections. As we inch closer towards these elections, it's really important to look at where the candidates stand as of now. We're getting ready to enter the month of September, so the final campaigning months of this election cycle, and how this is going to affect long-term Republicans and Democrats, but also who will serve in the United States Senate for the next 6 years. See, we're looking at people at states like Arizona, where Mark Kelly won his election in 2020, is facing a full-term potential. States like Georgia, same thing. Raphael Warnock facing to become the senator from Georgia for the next 6 years. So, this is a long-term thing, and we're going to look at what polling and other sources are saying to point towards who's going to win what race and how big of a margin are they going to win by. So the first thing I want to talk about is our safe states, and these are states that obviously are probably going to go to the Democrats by around 15 plus percentage points. So, states like Washington, Oregon, California, Illinois, New York, even Vermont, Connecticut, states like that, even Maryland, going to the Democrats by over 15 percentage points. But we've also got a lot of safe Republican states. So we're looking at states like Utah, Idaho. I also need to characterize Hawaii. We're also going to be looking at Alaska. It's going to be a safe Republican either way, whether it's Lisa Murkowski or not. It's going to be a pretty solid victory for the Republicans. North Dakota, South Dakota, Kansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas. All of these states are going to go to the Republicans pretty solidly. Pretty solid wins for the Republicans in these states. So right now we're at a tied point. Both the Republicans and Democrats have 45 Senate seats at this point after characterizing all of our safe states. So following this, we're going to start by talking about the state of Colorado. The state of Colorado is a state in which, if we look at the Democrats' favorability, they are favored to win the United States Senate. Colorado expected 91% chance of winning and probably a pretty solid victory, and we'll put it as a likely Democratic race. The next state, though, that we're going to talk about is the state of Ohio. And if we look at Ohio and look at polling and other things, FiveThirtyEight rates it as a lean Republican, and J.D. Vance, and the forecasted vote share is up in this race, and he probably will end up pulling it off. I think it will end up being a likely Republican race as well in the state of Ohio. Some people don't exactly believe that, and I totally understand if those that don't. The next state, though, that we're going to talk about is the state of Pennsylvania. And this should be a race that we're talking about at the end of the video, given how close it is, but we're not. Because, quite frankly, John Fetterman has a better chance at winning than J.D. Vance. John Fetterman has a 76% chance of winning to Mehmet Oz, his Republican candidate facing him. And the forecasted vote share, he's up by roughly 5 percentage points. And we're going to put this as a pretty solid win for the Democrats. I'm not sure that I can put it as a likely Democratic race. I do think that it will lean just a little bit. There are mixed feelings about that. I do think that there's the chance that it goes to John Fetterman by over 5 percentage points, but I'm not sure that I believe that quite yet. And there's multiple factors in that as well. Not only the fact is John Fetterman going to debate Dr. Oz. Is that going to happen? Are we going to see that happen? Because that really will be a telling point for voters. Is Dr. Oz and John Fetterman going to debate? The next state, though, that we're going to talk about is the state of North Carolina. And if we look at North Carolina recently, Ted Budd has a 63% chance of winning. And I think it's going to be a pretty solid victory. Forecasted vote share doesn't show that, but I do think so. I think Ted Budd is a pretty solid candidate for the Republicans in this race. I think he'll end up pulling it off with a likely Republican win. The next state that we're going to talk about is the state of Florida. Sorry, this is the wrong page. Marco Rubio and Val Demings are going to face off. Marco Rubio, I do think, will win this race, and I think he'll win it by a pretty solid margin. I think he'll win it by over 5 percentage points as determined by the forecasted vote share. I would agree with this, and I think that he could even go a step further and win it even larger than what this is predicting. But overall, Marco Rubio probably will win this race in a likely Republican point. So the next state, though, that we're going to talk about is the state of New Hampshire. I should have talked about that earlier on in the video, but it's fine. Maggie Hassan has a 78% chance of winning, likely Democratic race. And I think that she'll win this pretty solidly. I do think that it could be a tad closer than what we're seeing in polls and other things. But overall, I do think that Maggie Hassan will win this race in a likely Democratic race over 5 percentage points. So I'd agree with that pretty much overall. The next 4 states that we're going to talk about are going to determine the fate of the United States Senate for the Republicans or for the Democrats. Obviously, Republicans are pretty confident in winning the House, and I mean, a lot can happen. Like I say, we've still got about 2 months out until these midterm elections, but overall, the Republicans have performed pretty well in the House of Representatives, even though it has been getting closer, but we're not talking about the House today, but I did want to point that out. So if the Republicans win the Senate too, that could be a pretty big thing for them. The first state that we're going to talk about is the state of Wisconsin. And recently, I mean, just two to 3 days ago, Ron Johnson had a 60% chance of winning in this race. Recently, it's tightened up. Ron Johnson has a 54% chance of winning. Mandela Barnes has a 46% chance of winning. I still think that Ron Johnson will end up pulling this off. I do. I truly do. I think that he'll end up pulling this off, and I don't think it will be even a tilt Republican. I do think it'll be a lean Republican race. I do think Ron Johnson will pull it off. But polling suggests that this race is tightening, and we've still got 2 months out, so Ron Johnson has to keep up momentum if the Republicans want to win this race. But the next state that we're going to talk about is the state of Arizona. If we look at Arizona, we see that Blake Masters just isn't performing quite as well as people expected him to in the state of Arizona. He has a 29% chance of winning. Mark Kelly has a 71% chance of winning. And I think Mark Kelly will win this pretty solidly. I would tilt towards it being a little bit closer of a race. I do think it will be in that lean Democratic. I don't think it'll be tilt, and I don't think it'll be likely. I think it'll be lean Democrat. And I think Mark Kelly will win this race at the end of the day. I think a lot of people would agree with that as well. Based off of multiple things, it just shows that Mark Kelly probably will end up winning this race. The next state that we're going to talk about is the state of Nevada. And recently, at first, I thought Adam Laxalt would win this race. And I'm still not confident in Cortez Masto winning. But it is interesting that this race is shifting towards her favor even more than maybe expected. We've still got 2 months out. Adam Laxalt can still perform very well. He's the former lieutenant governor, not lieutenant governor, I apologize for that, former attorney general of the state of Nevada. And I would expect that he performed well. He's not performing quite as well as I expected him to. But like I said, we've got months out, but at this point I am going to have to characterize this as more of a lean Democratic race in the state of Nevada, and I think that that's pretty reasonable in the state. I do think that Cortez Masto, based off of polling, is performing a little bit better. I mean, I could go ahead and characterize it as a tilt Democrat, but I'm not sure that it would be quite that close of a race. But of course, I have the chance of being wrong. I do think that it will be a lean Democrat, and I think Cortez Masto will narrowly win it, maybe by just a tad over a percentage point. So with that, the next state that we're going to talk about is the state of Georgia. And if we look, FiveThirtyEight rates this as a 50-50 chance for both candidates. And if we look at recent polling, Herschel Walker has performed well in polling. 46% chance of winning. 48%, this is a Republican pollster, I want to point that out, 48 to 47. And in Phil's Academy, 45 to 44. Now, given this, I am going to have to give this race to Herschel Walker. A lot of people are not going to agree with me on this, and I totally understand, but I do think Herschel Walker will narrowly win it. I'm talking under a percentage point of a victory in the state of Georgia. But I do think that at the end of the day, based off of these polls, and it being a 50-50% chance in Georgia, as well as looking at former elections, Biden only won the state by 0.23 percentage points. You hear me talk about that a lot. But I do think that given the year that we're in, Herschel Walker will narrowly win this race. and this puts the Republicans at 50%, at a 50 draw for the Senate. The Democrats win with Vice President Harris breaking the tie in any need of that. And ultimately, I think this is my prediction as of now. Obviously, my next prediction could have Georgia as a blue seat, or it could have Nevada as a red seat. It could have Wisconsin as a blue seat. Whatever happens, we'll have to continue to watch. I think Georgia, Wisconsin, and Arizona, or not Arizona, I apologize, Nevada are our closest races in this election cycle. Keeping an eye on them very closely is very, very important. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think is going to happen in these elections. I would love to hear it because ultimately these are going to be close, I believe, in a lot of these states. So let me know what you think, and I will see you all in the next video.